I don't dream at night. I can't visually imagine anything in my head. When I close my eyes or go to sleep at night, this is all I see all the time. Pitch black, and that is it. Hey, it's Don. Today I wanted to discuss something that I was diagnosed with about 3 years ago when I was dealing with a medical issue with one of my eyes, something that showed up in it. When I was 19, I was formally diagnosed with autism. I had it my whole life. Back when I was a child, it wasn't something you'd be brought up with or people discussed or that would even be looked upon by doctors back in the day, at least in my time where we lived and the environment that I was in. So, it explained a lot to me, to those I know, back in those time frames. I've always had something different about me, something that set me aside from everybody else. Not good, bad, or anything else like that. It was just, I never quite fit in or anything else along that line. It's just how I always was. Nothing I could do about it, Some things I just do and, it's beyond my control. A lot of things have emotional ties to them that, in many cases other folks wouldn't. And while I was actually having the eye issue, there was the tests run and the doctor had to consult somebody else. And at the end of the day, it turns out that I have what's called aphantasia, which means that I don't have a mind's eye, is what it's called. I can't visualize things in my head. I can't fantasize or daydream images in my head. Until 3 years ago, I had no idea that, I was any different in the aspect of that as anybody else. Thought it was just a proverbial counting sheep or imagining the beach, sitting on the beach, relaxing in the sun, playing in the surf or whatever, they always tell you to do and close your eyes to mellow out and relax and stuff. Never had any inclination that anything was different about, me as a person, as a human being in general. It's a very small percentage of the population that has it. 1%, maybe 2% of the entire population has aphantasia from, what I've seen, what I've read, what the, people have told me in the medical profession. Again, I had no idea that this was anything that even existed. It didn't have a name until like 2014. Something that was found out by accident, basically, from what I understand. And I can see why, because most people just assume this is how everybody sees or I should say, experiences things. I don't have a visual dream at night. It's literally, again, just this. This is all I see when my eyes are closed. I do have the voice, the internal voice inside my head that, tells me things. And when I run into things, or in my profession, which is reselling, I mess with a lot of vintage collectibles and antiques. I just know that this is what this is. I can't explain, why I know it. I might know from a specific event or something, but in general, it's just comes to my head that this is what something is. I can remember facts about, really stupid things to most people that are meaningless, to most people, but in my field it works out best for me. Now this has some good draw to it, but some very negative draw to it. Unfortunately, I can't picture lost relatives in my head. I can't picture what my father looks like in my head like most people may be able to do. I have a lot of pictures. Ever since I was a child, I've collected something, and I constantly look at those items as a child, and like Star Wars, I had the cards, the figures. I know a lot of people collect stuff, but I've done that throughout my entire life. Photos of family members and things like that. I know a lot of people do that as well, but for me, it's my memories. The stuff that may be sitting on a shelf somewhere are my memories of things that I can't bring to my head, to my visual mind, because it's not there. And I didn't have any idea that this was a thing. I've talked to other folks, and other folks had no idea after I explained it that this is a thing, and some people that I've talked to actually have a similar thing as what I have. Now it's just on like a spectrum, just like having autism, it's on a spectrum. And you may be where you can see and have dreams at night, but when you close your eyes, normally you can't bring anything visually to your mind's eye. You have no mind's eye at that aspect. Or you can only see blurry objects, nothing detailed, not enough to really know what's going on inside your mind and things like that. For me, it's all words in my head when I'm trying to figure something out. Sometimes it's multiple words coming at me, multiple conversations of my voice in my head going over multiple things when there's something that's aggravating to me or bothersome, and it pretty much goes on until I solve the issue. Now, I also was diagnosed when I was a child with obsessive compulsive disorder. And still to this day, I'll get locked into doing something, and it's hard to break free of that because I can't let it get out of my head sometimes until I solve it. If the computer was broken in the past, before I, really understood and took classes and, degrees and stuff in that stuff, it just drove me nuts. I had to fix it. I couldn't do it. My wife would have to come out to the garage or to the office or something and say, "Hey, you've been out here for a long time." Sometimes I don't even, think about eating. I'm just so engrossed in what I'm doing. That's just me. There's nothing else I can do about it. Things come easy for me in some areas like coding and computers and stuff like that. I took all the languages that were available at the college when I was going there. I do have an IT degree as well as several other degrees from an actual major university. But they're more in technical stuff. They're more in stuff that's factual or processes of things like mathematical stuff, Excel and things like that, and the formulas just made sense the first time I saw it. But other things like conversing, interacting with normal people sometimes is hard. For me, it's the interactions with people that are always the hard problem. I come off wrong and bad about it because of being autistic in many ways that I look odd or people think I'm weird. I'm not trying to get any sympathy or anything like that at all. It's just the life, the facts of growing up and being who I am. I've accepted myself fully. I'm not worried about who I am or where I am at in my life. But point being, this is me. I have aphantasia. I can't picture or visualize. Now, I do artwork, and for my entire life until that moment when I was told this is what you have, and this is the symptoms, and this is the difference between other folks. But up until that point, I was so dumbfounded how people could draw without having that object right there in front of them to use as an example. I couldn't fathom how someone could draw it from memory because I couldn't pull any image like that or any image up at all into my mind's eye to draw it that way. And that's how most people draw when they draw from memory. They can see it in their head. I can't do that. I can draw extremely well. I've won many awards, county, state. I've got purchase awards from the state of Florida and things like that. I've got some pieces in museums. I've been in magazines and things like that, a couple of books and stuff. But all of it's based on being able to see something, draw it. I can put stuff together on paper. I can change it around. I can do fantasy stuff on paper. While I'm drawing it, I can come up with stuff as long as I can see it. I can mix stuff together, but I can't do any of that from memory. I can't pull it into my head at all. And until that day, I was just frustrated, flustered over it, and could never figure out why. Throughout school and business meetings and things like that, you always get the proverbial, close your eyes and picture yourself on a beach, the sun, beaming down on you, a nice cool breeze coming in off the water. I can't picture that in my head. I can't visualize that in my head. Can't close my eyes and see it. I don't daydream or fantasize or anything else like that visually in my head. Now, I can, emotionally tie myself to things or events and things like that. I can remember words that run through my head as a voice, as my own voice, like I discussed earlier. But that's the extent of what's, going through it. I've got tons of thoughts. To me, to whether I should do something, I always come up with pros and cons in my head. I can remember the lists, left and right. I can remember things I purchased, 10 years ago. I can remember when I did a specific thing, but they're all mostly useless things that I can remember or think about when those aspects of it. So you may be one of the ones that has aphantasia as well and just now are finding out. I know a lot of folks have found out from videos like this. I found out from, going in to actually talk to a doctor over something else. So who knows? It may be something that's never been brought to your attention. Most people aren't aware of what the mind's eye actually is. I know it's in textbooks. I know there's a movie, I think, titled that, or a sci-fi book titled The Mind's Eye. But what it is missed by most people, including myself. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
If your man lives for excitement, give him 007. There's a 007 gift set for every assignment. This one packs the full line, including 007 aftershave, hairdressing, and cologne. That's 007 for the license to kill women.
When you use 007, be kind.